Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist that theorized that young children think differently from adults. This understanding has become the foundation for developmentally appropriate practices in education today. His theory, the constructivist theory, emphasizes that thinking and learning are dynamic, ongoing processes that happen between children and their environment. Essentially, that children act on their environment to develop or construct knowledge about concepts and objects. The constructivist theory further breaks down how children learn by labeling different concepts. The first is schemas, or the general knowledge that we acquire. Look at the pictures below. Most people would answer the question of, "What are these?" by answering that they are both fish. Yes, one is a clownfish and the other is a goldfish, but we can all agree that the basic likeness between the two is that they are fish. This general term for identifying what they are is called a schema. The next concept is assimilation. This occurs when we are able to use existing knowledge to understand new information. We can all agree that technically these may be classified as a fish, but again, we can see that they have fins and are swimming in the water. We recognize them as fish. But we start to make a new connection that these are also referred to as whales and sharks because of a variety of ways that they are different from each other. This is the same as the clownfish and goldfish being different. Accommodation occurs when we have to alter new information into existing knowledge. The schema of this picture is that it is a fish. We then assimilate that this fish may be referred to as a dolphin because it swims in the sea. But dolphins are actually not fish. They are mammals because dolphins are warm-blooded and have air lungs, not gills, which is why they surface frequently to take breaths. If you didn't know this, your brain is actually hearing what I'm saying and accommodating this new information so that you are more likely to remember it. The concept of equilibrium occurs when new information actually causes a change in behavior. If you start sharing with or correcting others that dolphin are not fish, you have experienced an equilibrium. Schema, assimilation, accommodation, and equilibrium are the core constructivist theory concepts that describe the processes of how we learn. While this theory also promotes 4 stages of development, these processes occur over and over as we learn new and more complex information. Piaget actually spent years conducting research and documenting his observations of children and adult learners. With that information, he identified 4 stages of development to better describe typical milestones that could be expected during certain periods of time. While all 4 are important, we are going to discuss the first 2, the sensory motor and the pre-operational thought, because they are the most relevant to our work. The first is the sensory motor period. This is the stage when infants are only aware of what is right in front of them, focusing on what they see and do in any physical interactions with their immediate environment. They are also unaware of how objects might react, which is why we see them exploring objects through manipulation. This is known as trial and error. Infants also use their senses to try and better understand the environment around them. Around age 7 to 9 months, children develop an understanding that when an object is moved out of sight, it has not actually disappeared, it's still there. This is an important milestone for the sensory motor period and something that needs to occur in order for a child to move on successfully into the pre-operational stage. Pre-operational thought starts to move away from focusing on the immediate environment and expands to thinking symbolically. This means that children are able to use concepts or objects in other ways. For example, a smile means you're happy, or that the child can use gestures to indicate he or she wants to be picked up, like raising his arms up. Pre-operational thought is also characteristic of the development of memories and imagination. You'll see children starting to engage in pretend play and make connections of what happens with cause and effect relationships. Additionally, children become more egocentric, only seeing and understanding the world from their perspective, and have difficulty understanding conservation. To explain conservation, look at the pictures below. Cups A and B are the same and have the same amount of water, correct? So when B is poured into C and children are asked which one has more water, does A have more water or B have more water, many children will answer that C does because it is taller than A. That's because children lack the ability to determine quantities can remain the same despite adjustments made to the shape, size, or type of container. To recap, we have discussed that Piaget has 4 stages to his theory, but for our work, focused on the sensory motor and pre-operational stage, where infants are learning object permanence and young children are discovering the concept of conservation.